Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is the Hammerdin Paladin, which will bring back memories of Diablo 2. And with it, we're going to have Ellie's spin on it, in which we'll be raining down smites from the heavens on 40% or up to 40% of the hits that we do. Now that being said, usually that's a huge mana concern. However, smite in this case, which I believe is a bug, it's unintended for the mana gained on smite use on the helm to be used if you're not manually actually using smite yourself, instead of having it secondary procced through a hit. However, it does replenish your mana, which means that you can spam hammers basically non-stop, and every time that you hit a mob and a smite is procced, you're going to get your mana back. So you'll have constant mana full with this build, which means you don't have to fight the mana of a normally hammer expensive build. And then on top of that, you'll have full screen AoE. You're going to have 100% spell chance. You're going to be doing really good damage with smite. And then being a paladin, this also comes with tank ability. You're going to be able to take a lot of damage, and you're going to be leeching a lot of damage that you do back into your health, so your survivability is going to be quite high. And this will be another no unique build. However, it does require idols in order to proc the smite, so there are some specific idols you'll have to have. You can run the build obviously without them, but the more of them you have and the better rolls on them, the better this build will perform. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills, the interactions, and just how it works. For skills, I'm running Sigils of Hope, Smite, Lunge, Holy Aura, and Hammer Throw. For Sigils of Hope, now it's a pretty expensive skill costing 42 mana, and since we're not going to be able to continuously spam that, you will be able to cast it every now and then. We also have it set up so that there's a 6% chance on kill to have one summoned for free for us. Now with that, that's also beneficial because this build does kill things relatively quickly, which is going to allow you to stay at your 4 stacks usually just from this, and you just manually casting one every now and then. We also are getting a lot of damage out of it. Per sigil, which we'll have up to 4 of them, you're getting another 30% damage, or 120% total, and then you'll be able to get a bunch of added void damage, which is added to not only your hammer throw hits, but it's going to be added to the smite hits, which really increases how much damage that they do. The other things we have is to make it insta-cast, and then we have into the duration so they last a while, so you don't have to worry about spamming them too often, and then to get the 4th one, we have 1 point in tetragram. For Smite, this is going to be the main damaging skill. Even though we're using Hammer Throw and basically only using Hammer Throw, Smite will be the main damaging thing. So the first thing we have in it is you want to get Righteous Flurry. This gives you 50% increased attack and cast speed. Throwing speed is counted in the attack speed, so this will let you throw hammers even faster. Then for the damage side of things, we have 3 points in Sacrifice, 1 point in Atonement, and 3 points in Conviction, so that it takes 9% of our life, but that's reduced by 60%, so it's closer to about 5 of your health, 4 to 5 of your health actually being consumed. And then we have 4 points in Deep Impact for 100% extra critical strike multiplier with our Smite hits. And you'll be leeching so much that this percentage that disappears for that damage boost is going to be replenished. And then for Lunge, we have Lunge set up the normal way. We have 2 charges so that you'll be able to double Lunge if you haven't lunged in a while. And then we have it set up so that you'll get the initiative buff, and this is going to give you 240% crit chance increase as long as you have recently used Lunge. Tap that out with the 300% that you get from the passive tree, and you're well on your way towards 100% crit. We also have 4 points in Forge On, so we get extra armor, and 1 point in Unstoppable, so that we are invincible while lunging. For Holy Aura, we are running this as a block build. We're using a one-hander, so we do have a shield on, so we are running a block chance, and the most effective way to take advantage of that is with the Mighty Shield, because you get health gained on block, and with 3 points in Against the Odds, you also gain 21 ward on block, so you'll be able to replenish health after a block or on a block, and you'll get some ward, so that you'll be able to shield it towards the next hit that you take. And then we boosted our throwing attack damage and our throwing attack speed. And then for the Hammer Throw, you'll see it cost 5 mana to cast. That felt about the best we had. If you get any more expensive than that, you'll have to get better and better gear. But with this, you can get a tier 3 to a tier 4 of fix of mana back on Smite use, which will keep you even so that you'll be able to get a lot of that mana back. We have 5 points in rapid throw to increase how fast we can throw it. 5 points in weighted hammers, so they have 75% more damage and their speed is reduced by half. Now what that's going to do is it means that there's going to be more of them out on the field at once, and they last longer, so that when you're running, they run with you. You have more time to get more hits with them. 1 point in winged hammers, 1 point in steadfast path, 2 points in catapult so that we get 4 extra projectiles. This would mean that you were casting 5 at once, but it's reduced to half with 1 point in iron spiral. So now that the hammers spiral, you only get half that amount. It rounds up, so we get 3 per throw now. 1 point in hammer vortex, so they now spiral and orbit us. And then 4 points in ballista to reduce that mana cost from 9 down to just 5. For passives, I have 20 points in the Sentinel base class, with 1 point in Overwhelm, 4 points in Counterattack, 8 points in Juggernaut, 1 point in Fearless, 1 point in Protector for that block chance, and 5 points in Armor Clad. We have 1 point in the Forge Guard with that 1 point in the Steel Aegis for that block chance. We have over 25 points in the Void Knight, with 1 point in Abyssal Endurance, 5 points in Temporal Corruption, 8 points in World Eater, 8 points in Void Bolts, and 5 points in Dark Maul, for a total of 16 plus 10, 26. We have 27 points in here. And then for the Master Paladin with 63 points, we have 8 in Conviction, 8 in Defiance, 2 in Honor, 7 in Holy Symbol, 10 in Staunch Defender, 1 in Shield Wall. And this 10 points in Staunch Defender is going to give you all of that adaptive spell damage while using a shield. So that's another big boost of why Smite is still hitting really hard even though we're using a one-hander. 8 points in Faith and Armor so that we have that critical strike avoidance along with more armor. 10 points in Holy Precision for that 300% throwing and spell critical strike chance, which is huge. And 9 points in Reverence of Duality for increased health, damage, mana, and healing effectiveness. For items and idols, so for the idols, we have 2 different types of idols that I like to run. There's a few that you can do, but I like ones that have a % chance to cast Smite when you hit with throwing attack, and they have block effectiveness. And then you can also get ones that give a % chance to shred armor on hit with throwing attacks, so that your hammer throws will shred armor, and you'll have increased block effectiveness. Along with both of these can give you a chance to cast Smite when you hit an enemy with, of course, your hammer throw throwing attack. And then for crafted items, I'm just going to hover over all of these and go over a couple of the important details. If you want to go into them more, you can go into the description, click on the link to the forum post, and the forum post will have the build planner in which you can see all of this. And some of the things is, the plus 10 mana gained on Smite on use, you will need at least some. Get at least tier 1, try to get tier 2, tier 3, but if you do not get the mana cost down on your hammer throw below like 7 or 8, you're going to need to come all the way up to a tier 5 to get this 10 mana gained on Smite use. The other thing that we have is on our rings, we have throwing attack fire damage. You do not need that. That's just extra damage for the hits of hammer throw. So all you're worried about is get at least a tier 1 of throwing attack physical damage, and tier 1 will give you -3 throwing attack mana cost. So as long as you can get a tier 1 on both rings of just the throwing attack physical damage, that's all you need to get started. And then I'll hover over these last 3. For the character sheet, as you can see, we're pretty much capped out on all of our resistances. Just standing in place, we have 50% armor and 50% block effectiveness, which is huge for this build. Nothing on the damage stats really pops out other than we have almost 250% void and 239% critical strike multiplier, which gets another 100% for the smite hits. So it's sitting at 339%. And then for defense, our endurance, we have 49% endurance with a 604 threshold and 100% critical strike avoidance. And then how to play this build, the skill rotation. I like to put Holy Aura and Lunge both on autocast, and then I just do hammers. I'll occasionally cast the Sigils of Hope if I notice my mana's full and I'm hitting enemies, so you can get those going. But as I stand here and get hits on the training dummy, I'm going to be able to cast more of my Sigils of Hope. I'll actually be able to get them full just because of how much mana I'm getting back hitting this and proccing so many of the smites to get the mana back. And as you can see, just getting lots and lots of hits, my mana will stay full. I can have my 4 sigils, and this is against single target. Remember, the more targets there are, the more hits you're going to be getting the more smites. And you can see that our smites are hitting from between 10 and 20k damage, which is pretty good damage for them. Our hammers are hitting for about 3k damage, and then occasionally you'll see our lunge is actually hitting for about 20k when we slide in with that, which is pretty hard. But overall, you're going to be able to, I mean, you have this entire area that you'll be able to clear of enemies, which is just absolutely huge. And of course, as we have 4 sigils, you'll have more damage from that as well, because each one of them is adding in more void damage for the attacks and the spells. And that's it. All you do is cast this. You just hold down the button for hammer throw. You don't actually have to, sit there and click it a bunch of times. Then you can run a little bit, get some more hammers going, run a little bit. You just clear everything around you. You just keep working your way through the monos and the echoes. And speaking of the monos, the echoes, the arena, and the bosses, let's get into some gameplay. And as always, stay safe, travelers.